So there you go. How are you today?
I'm good.
Yeah. Was it a busy day for you?
No, not at all, actually.
Okay. Relaxed.
Yeah, just
You're ready.
a good day. Just relaxed.
Okay.
Nothing pressing, nothing untoward happened. It's all good.
Good. You ready for today?
I am.
Excited for you. Okay. So I would like to begin by saying an invocation prayer for you, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. So just close your eyes and just take slow, deep breaths, just connecting with the breath. So, Celestina, today we honor the storyteller in you, the seeker, the weaver of wisdom, the soul who turns experience into meaning. There is nothing to fear, nothing to fix, nothing to prove. This is not a test. This is not a performance. This is simply a remembering of who you are, of the stories only you can tell, a remembering that your voice, your truth, and your journey are already whole, just as they are. And there is no right way to tell this story. We're just playing, we're just exploring the landscapes of memory, like children running barefoot through fields of light. And here in this space, you are safe, you are free, you are held. So let the words come as they will, softly or boldly, in waves or in whispers, and trust that every word is enough. And when you speak, know this: you are not alone, you are seen, you are heard, and your story matters. So let's begin.
Thank you.
Alrighty. So thank you for your candidness when we last spoke. Thank you for sharing a bit of your story. And thank you for sharing with me your most recent uh, MRI, right? It was an MRI
It was a CT scan that I sent you.
scan. Okay. And I have a bit of knowledge about why you're coming. I know that it's an ovarian cyst. And before we go into that, I'm just going to offer a perspective from the German New Medicine on what it, uh, how it views ovarian cysts. So, and this is primarily for the ones who are watching us. And I'm not sure whether you're familiar with German New Medicine or if you have researched your condition from the lens of German New Medicine. Have you?
I have not,
Have not,
other than through Charlene.
Charlie. Okay. So, from the perspective of German New Medicine, ovarian cysts, I have my notes in front of me. I don't want, so I might be reading because I don't want to miss anything important. So, bear with me. So, according to German New Medicine, ovarian cysts arise in response to a loss conflict. The loss conflict can be literal or it can be figurative or symbolic. So the loss can represent a loss related to relationships. So either people or pets, not material possessions. So it could be the loss of a loved one, a miscarriage, struggles with infertility, or it can be a figurative loss, such as feeling abandoned, betrayed, or just a loss of connection with a partner. It can be a loss of self-worth around relationships. It can be loss of a perceived role as a woman, a partner, a nurturer, a mother. And the size and the growth of the cyst depends on the intensity of the conflict and it depends on duration, how long it's been going on. So with that, I would like to ask you if you can walk us through the first origins of this cyst, because as I understand, the one you're having now is a recurrence. If you can walk us through the origins of how it first began and up to the present time.
Um, well, it was long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So, the first time I experienced the diagnosis of an ovarian cyst was when I was, I would say, 22-ish,
Years old.
23-ish, maybe. Maybe it started before then. I didn't notice. I'm not sure. Yes, years old. And I experienced pain in my abdomen and unusual bloating. So I had already had my first child by then, and she was approximately 2 years old, I would say. And upon a trip to the family doctor and thereafter a gynecologist, it was determined that I had an ovarian. No, at first I was told that there's nothing and I'm imagining things. And then a few months passed and it became more noticeable to me. And then finally the gynecologist said, "Oh, there is something here." And and then upon coming back on the third visit, he said, "Oh, whatever was going on here, and I think it's cysts, has grown dramatically, and we need to schedule surgery to remove them because I had two, so one on each ovary." And then upon removal of those two cysts, they were approximately the size of grapefruits, and they were both removed, and it was determined they were dermoid cysts. Then, about maybe 8 months to a year later, I was experiencing. Okay, well, that's the last story about those cysts. Since then, I've had many occasions where, from what I've been told, I've had reoccurring cysts that have, for lack of a better word, popped, and I experience extreme discomfort in my abdomen area for maybe like a 24-hour period, and then the pain would subside. And so I had those maybe for about 10, 15 years after that. And then they've subsided ever since until the last time, this last finding that there is a cyst in my abdomen. They call it a mass. And then lately they've determined that it's a dermoid cyst, or in keeping with symptoms of a dermoid cyst.
And this most recent one, when did you actually start feeling the symptoms related to that?
I did not feel any symptoms relating to it. And the only reason it was found is because I had extreme discomfort in the left side of my abdomen. And upon going to emergency, a CT scan was ordered to determine what was going on. And I was told that I was diagnosed with diverticulitis, and it was inflamed, and that I needed to take antibiotics to reduce the inflammation and the infection. And at the same time, the cyst showed that the CT scan showed that there was a mass on my right ovary, which was non-existent at the time. Well, I skipped a chunk in there because they removed my right ovary at a surgery about 2 years after the cysts were removed.
Okay. So did they how long ago was this episode?
The second one, it was in, I would say, 2019-ish.
Okay. And so when they did the CT scan, did they determine that the source of your discomfort on the left side of the abdomen was from the diverticulitis?
Correct.
And so the ovarian cyst was an incidental finding.
Correct.
Okay. But that is what you would like to dive deeper into today, the source of the recurring dermoid cyst.
Correct.
Okay. However, per se, you don't really have any pelvic symptoms.
I wasn't having any up until maybe about 6 months ago. I had some heaviness in my abdomen and a pulling sensation that was quite uncomfortable. And the when I would lay down or go for a nap, then I would get up and it would be gone, but it would return the following day. So that continued for about, I would say, a month. And in that time, of course, approached my family doctor again, and I said, I believe I'm having symptoms from this mass, and maybe we should look into it a little further. Whereupon she started the process of um, um, getting requisitions sent to a gynecologist and CT scans and to see what was going on.
Yes. And this pulling sensation was this time different. It was more in the pelvic area rather than the abdomen.
It was in the pelvic area, yes. And holding my tummy up would relieve the pulling sensation.
Okay. Any other movements, any other strategies, techniques that would relieve it?
No, other than laying down, no.
Okay.
And it
So,
wasn't painful to the touch or palpitation. It was just in the pulling sensation when I would stand up.
so to relieve of the gravity,
Yes,
the pull of gravity.
yes.
Okay. Were there situations, what kind of situations would make it worse? What would trigger it?
No situation.
Okay, no triggers. Okay. And would it be associated, you think, with stressful periods, like emotionally stressful periods?
Um,
If
I
you,
would say no.
okay.
No.
Was when it was happening, what would be your overall energetic countenance? Would you be in a state of fatigue,
No.
or would you be in a high energy state?
No. Just regular normal life.
Okay. All right. Any other sensations other than the heaviness, the pulling? Any other sensations, like, for example, would there be um, stabbing pain, throbbing pain, any kind?
No.
Or pains? None. Okay. And there would be no associated discharge coming
No.
from,
No discharge.
okay. And it would not be related to eating. For example, when you would eat something, it would flare up.
No.
No fevers around
No.
this. Okay. And all throughout this time that you're experiencing it, emotionally, you're in a calm state,
Yes.
not high anxiety.
No.
Nothing. All right. Now, so I'm just going to veer off a bit and go back to German New Medicine. From the perspective of German New Medicine, there are phases of healing as long as the conflict has been resolved. And the conflict may be resolved consciously by the individual or unconsciously. Once that conflict is resolved, it goes through phases of healing. The first phase is what they call the conflict active, wherein the individual may not necessarily have sensation at all. And it may just be related to the event or of the conflict itself, not necessarily yet percolating in the organs. So when a conflict is active, if you are able to um, uh, recall the situation around the time that it first happened, perhaps you were just emotionally hyper, like You could have been anxious about a situation, hypervigilant, not necessarily feeling anything in the abdominal pelvic region. So as the conflict is active. Now, once the conflict is resolved by the psyche, either consciously or unconsciously, that's when the symptoms start manifesting. As the conflict is happening, the cells usually perceive it as the way the tissues in the ovaries, this is specific to the ovary, the way the tissues or the cells respond is through loss. It's as if the factory is shutting down, and the ovaries are reducing its function to compensate for the loss that you perceived, either loss of relationship. So the factory is, it's as if the ovaries are saying, okay, we're going to shut down for now until we cope with this loss. Now, once the psyche resolves the conflict, the phase shifts to healing phase. And that is now when, imagine that area of the area of conflict in the organ system, like a construction site. The cells now start rebuilding. It starts getting construction workers to rebuild the site. And that can manifest as a growth. And when we heal in a fluid environment. So then fluid also follows, or edema, what we call edema. So when there is fluid, there might be pressure. And that's when the individual can start feeling bloatedness or a heavy sensation, warmth, because all the blood vessels are now expanded to recruit more helper cells. So fevers may come as well, pain, and or tenderness to palpation. So I don't know whether you had gone through that, but I'm just explaining it from the perspective of how does healing manifest from a German new medicine perspective. So putting that aside, I'm just gonna check on something here, because am I still appearing okay to you, or do I appear dim?
You appear dim, and your movements are
Is that better?
yeah, no.
Hold on a second. Let me just turn off one more light. Hopefully this is better.
Light behind me bothering you at all?
No.
Okay. It's my halo.
Am I still appearing dim?
No, much
No.
brighter.
Okay. So as I was explaining to you, the German new medicine equivalent of an ovarian cyst, which is the loss conflict, what was going through your mind as I was describing that?
Well, I was probing my body to give me some signals that any of what you were saying was resonating. And I don't feel anything responding to the body's not responding to anything you're saying. So many times, the term conflict is coming up, and I'm going back into my I guess what I'm not super clear on is are we talking about the time when it was first discovered, or are we talking more recently when it was not rediscovered, but like the decision to move forward with finding out like what we can do about it, and the fact that it became heavy? Or are we talking about when it was first discovered as a mass in 2019? Because it feels to me, Richie-Ann, that it's because it's been so, it's been returning and recurring, and then became in my mind dormant, which obviously it isn't because I have a mass. Um, are we dealing with something that has basically settled itself in my psyche, and therefore the body is creating a symptom that, and whether or not there's conflict or resolution happening, the time that we're looking at it over the past, say, 5 years that I'm looking at it now, 6 years, and determining what I should really do about it, if anything, or just let the body have it, or dissipate it on its own, or have it removed. All of these things for me is a conflict.
Okay, all right.
So the as far as loss in relationship, or conflict in relationship, I had a lot of, when it was discovered in 2019, there was a lot going on in my life. My partner was dying, and there was it was a lot of difficult time for me at that time. But previous to that, I've had many relationships where there was a lot of conflict and a lot of loss and a lot of all of those things. So it's very difficult for me to say, oh, it's this, or oh, it's that. And it kind of is like, it's that, but it's all of it,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
that makes sense, perfect sense. So perhaps because the original one happened, you said when you were 22 years old, so around 40 some years ago, correct?
Yep.
Perhaps for the time being, let's put that aside for now. Everything that has happened around that time, let's put that on the shelf for now and focus on this most recent one, which was the 2019 when it recurred.
Right.
Because I have a feeling that whatever surfaces around this 2019 recurring ovarian cyst, you may later on during this session or after may be able to find a connection with the one that happened 42 years ago.
Okay.
On your
Fair.
own. On your own. It could surface as we are discussing, or it could surface later on. But I do sense there is a connection, but that connection may not yet surface as we are conducting the session. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So focusing on the 2019 recurrence of the cyst. And I know that I emailed you your human design system profile and your gene keys profile. I'm not sure whether you've had a chance to review them.
I did. I reviewed it for the last couple of hours. I was looking at it and reading it. It's funny because
Oh, you have.
and I had all the same stuff. So I was comparing, what you had and what I had. It's all the same. So I kind of re-reviewed it for myself. But I've never had human design done. It's very fascinating that it's so similar.
Yes, they are. They're like superimposed. And so I'm basing my questions around your profile.
Right.
So we'll see what we come up with today. Again, we're just playing. Okay. So when it comes to the cyst, what emotions come up for you when you feel or felt, so present or past tense? Because is it still present? Like you still feel that heaviness, the pulling? Is that a present tense?
No, it was just a very short period of time, like maybe 10 days that it was there, and it was kind of sporadic. Like it wasn't every day, it wasn't all the time, and it wasn't like not a particular kind of time of day. It would just all of a sudden be there, and it would be like, oh, let's go for a walk. And then I'd be like, oh, I have that pulling thing again. No, I don't want to go for a walk when I'm feeling that weight. And then I would go lay down, and then I would get up again and just carry on my day and forget about it. And then, oh yeah, right, that pain is gone again. So it wasn't even, yeah, it wasn't even consistent or like 24 hours a day. It was just sometimes.
Okay. All right. When you did feel the discomfort, do you remember what emotions were coming up for you? Or when you realized that you had a recurrence of the cyst on the same side, do you remember what emotions were coming up for you at that time?
With regards to the cyst
Yes.
or in
With
anything?
regards to the sensations that the cyst, the mass was giving you, and with regards to the fact that it recurred.
I would have to say if I need to be, which I do, stupid, just something I was going to say out loud. If I need to be honest, of course I need to be honest. So, um, my first response was fear, fear of having another operation,
Mhm.
um, irritation that the body is holding on to something that is not necessarily, um, in my opinion, my ego opinion, is not serving me. Um, and 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 then consciously choosing to love my body and accept it for the expression that it's giving me. So went through a lot of emotions. A lot of them were fleeting. Nothing really settled, but and also some sadness that, um, because I have this, um, either it's learned or I've accepted this belief that this dermoid cyst is a manifestation of an unborn child.
Okay, that's interesting. How did you come on that insight?
I think way back when I was told that it was dermoid cysts that were moved, is that the doctor had said to me, well, a dermoid cyst is kind of like, it kind of has all the components of love, of like a baby, but they're not formed as a baby.
I
So
see.
it's something that your body has grown outside of where it should have matured, which so it was on your ovaries instead of in your uterus or your womb. And so that's what these cysts are. So that was his explanation to my young mind. So I think it kind of locked
Was
itself into my, my belief system. And so, I mean, even last week when I went, or a couple of weeks ago when I went and saw the gynecologist, my comment to him was, he goes, well, what do you want to do? We can do surgery. And I just looked at him and I laughed and I says, no, I'm going to keep my baby for a little longer. so, so he just kind of looked at me and then he burst out laughing. He goes, well, yeah, for all intents and purposes, he said, that's what it is.
that is actually a good analogy to keep. And I will allude to that again later on because that is quite useful actually. So when the emotions of irritation, you said, fear, sadness, when they came on, or in general, when emotions like this come, when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel hurt, when you feel frustrated, what do you tend to do? What's your tendency? Do you tend to um, allow your body to feel them? Do you tend to push them away? Do you tend to shut down? What's your tendency?
um, I allow it to just be there. I don't berate myself for having any of the emotions, but those emotions are quite fleeting. Like I know that if I just let the emotion be there, that it will just dissipate on its own.
Okay.
It's not like why am I mad or why am I shouldn't be sad. No, I'm not going to be sad. I don't do any of that. I just,
Okay.
I just be sad or I be mad and then it's gone right away.
So you allow it
Yeah.
and release it.
Yes.
Okay.
It
And
wasn't always that way though.
can you elaborate a little bit on that one? That it wasn't always that way?
I my pattern in the past has been to repress, definitely.
Okay.
For survival's sake, suppression was the key to my survival from my perspective at the time.
And at what point did you shift? At what made you shift?
um, well, I would say that I've learned a lot in the last 5, 6 years. through sacred meditation, through self-discovery techniques, through spiritual practices that have shifted my perception on how to deal with my emotions and situations in life.
Good for you. Good for you. And these sacred meditations are the ones that Shar conducts?
Yes, and a couple of others as well.
Okay. Now, at this point, because I am getting a sense that you are much evolved, right? Compared to people that I see. At this point, are there still, if you ask your body, if you tune into your body now, especially on that side, can you still sense any unexpressed emotion coming from it?
You know, I've done it quite often just to see and to feel and to listen to what's going on down there. And it just feels content. That's what it feels.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah. It just feels not, I wouldn't say happy, but it just feels like, yeah, this is where I live kind of feeling.
Okay. We'll work with that. Okay. So what I'm going to offer next is the symbolic connection of your symptom to the emotional cause. And it's just a possibility that I'm offering. So, as you know, ovary is related to reproduction, sense of part of our femininity. And I told you about the German New Medicine perspective on it. Now, I'm also combining with that the chakra perspective. It's in the sacral chakra or the sacral energy center, which represents our creativity, our desires, our sexuality. The thought that I'm offering is, could it be possible, and maybe this now will be related to the one that manifested the very first time 42 years ago. With your energy patterns then, when you would feel overwhelmed, that you would shut down or repress your emotions, feeling them and releasing them. So imagine a fist, right? When you're holding on to that emotion and you're not releasing it, and it keeps happening like that, over time, that muscle can harden. Figuratively speaking, if I relate it to the ovary, is it possible that because of the repression pattern that you had been doing unconsciously, that it could have hardened to become a cyst? And it could be the body's way of attempting to hold on to what you perceive as lost, or attempting to contain what you may have perceived at that time as loss. So that's one symbolic offering that I'm laying out. That it is representative of your body's holding patterns. Does that make sense?
Yeah, actually it does in a way. Yeah. Yeah.
The second possibility that I will offer with regards to the dermoid cyst is, like your gynecologist said, a dermoid cyst contains elements of hair, teeth, bone. It can be anything, eyeballs. And imagine these were infant cells, baby cells, that they were programmed to develop into hair, to bone, to eyeball, to skin, but they didn't get the memo. So they remained stuck where they were. They didn't get the memo. They were not able to go to their separate departments. They remained stuck as they were and clustered there, undeveloped. Symbolically, could they represent a part of your life, your identity, or your emotional self-expression that was never fully realized, that was never fully integrated, parts of yourself that were never fully integrated. There. I'll I'll stop and let you offer your insights.
Um, yeah, it has crossed my mind that
Let me
in
phrase that as a question.
in a coarser way that it's almost like um nurturing myself as a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of what I'm hearing from you?
Yeah, so I'm gonna rephrase that into one big question. If this cyst could speak, what might it reveal about the emotions or unmet needs you've been holding on to, particularly around loss or parts of yourself that never had the space to fully grow? Could it be a symbol of something unspoken that was not fully processed, boundaries that were not honored, or a deep longing for security and self expression?
Check, 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 check.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you
Thank you.
like that's something you'd like to elaborate? And that's okay if you don't, but if it's something you'd like to elaborate on, then I'll welcome you to do so.
Elaborate on as in
If
um
it's a part of your story that you want to share or not, it's okay.
well, I think too, like if we go back further into childhood, so part of the story of this life, there was sexual abuse as a child for 10 years, so from the age of 7 to 17, by a stepfather. And there was a lot of violence, repression. Um, so there were learned behaviors for coping mechanisms that, as a child and then as a teen, I learned to and taught myself to how to be in order to survive in that environment. So this carried on into even those that I would be attracted to or were attracted into my life. Uh, my husband at the time, um, and then progressively, um, uh, as time went on and the different partners that I had, certain things would be healed, and then um, uh, a new experience would present, and then a little bit else would be healed from that past. Then something else, another person would present, offer life experiences. Something else would be healed, that would end. And so these partners that I've had in life have always given me the opportunity to see bits and pieces of myself that I knew had to be healed and accepted and loved. And so, and as this process went along, the relationships would just disappear. So, fully embracing the knowledge that all of these wonderful experiences were there for my own growth, um, has offered me the opportunity to um, embrace and honor those relationships, and to still remain dear friends with all of my exes, believe it or not. And so it's been such a I hear you on that respect. So that lifelong journey of the little girl that was um, abused has now, there's just different belief systems around it now. So I understand that all of the different things that my body has gone through has all shown me ways in which I have experienced life, and whatever was presenting in a physical way was related to something that was going on. So the only thing from my perspective that's got me a little bit perplexed, and so now I'm finding that it's still residual from a lot of little deeper things, It's now presenting as this mass, this beautiful mass inside my body that is just waiting for me to dig a little deeper, I guess for lack of a better word.
And to decide whether you want to keep it or actually have it taken out by surgery, correct?
Yeah, like, or is it going to disappear on its own? Like, is that possible? I guess it's possible. Anything's possible.
Anything is possible, right? But thank you for that. Thank you for that very, very lovely sharing. Thank you for sharing your heart, really.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably why you said the cyst is right now content.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's content, it's quiet, it's not screaming, and yet it's there for your
Mm-hmm.
attention.
Mm-hmm.
And then you ask, is it going to go away? The fact that you already gone through the healing phase, which was probably the most intense when when you were going through it, those 10 days of pain and bloatedness and sensations that were uncomfortable. That indicates to you that you already resolved the conflict and that your body was already healing. Now
Mm-hmm.
that it's quiet, it's more likely in the scarring phase now, which is the tail end of a healing phase in GNM. Now, whether or not will it dissolve on its own, it's possible. There, I'm sure Shar knows of technologies that could do that. And should you decide to have it taken out, again, that's also an option. No judgment on that one. It's something that you and your body would have to decide on.
Mm-hmm.
But I can appreciate why it's quiet right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's calm
Yes, it
because of
is.
all the work that you've done, peeling off the layers of those belief systems that came with your experiences.
Right.
So I honor you for that one.
Thank you, back. Thank you.
Thank you for that sharing. That was very touching. Um, Now, so my next questions, because remember, the deep dive is peeling layer by layer. My
Yes.
next question may not impact you so much because the framework is on the premise that the individual has not done the work, has not done their. So bear with me. So the next layer is looking into patterns that have ruled your life somewhat, um, manifested through behaviors. And again, I'm extracting this from your gene keys profile, from your human design profile. And there were three patterns, and they may not apply now because again, you've done the work. But suppose let's just pretend for a second that you have not. There were three main patterns according to your profiles that you seem to regularly struggle with when you are faced with your shadows. And one of them that showed up was of suppression, which you already mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So the question I would have asked if you had not done your work is, how do you think these habits of suppression or avoiding your emotions, um, how would they show up in your body? So that was one question. I don't know if you still feel like answering that. You don't need to.
Yeah, I know that, like, I mean, everybody has some kind of a default, and I'm not, you know, um, immune to that. And except I just notice it now when it happens.
Yeah.
So my default from, you know, decades has been to suppress.
Mm.
It's just that I notice it right away now. And I'm happy to say that relationship wise, that I'm now with a partner that can, will, and will, and does listen, and without judgment or fear, and gives me the space to um, go through whatever it is that I feel I need to suppress, and just to be clear on how I'm feeling and allow the expression of who and what I'm feeling or going through, um, and at that moment, as opposed to suppressing it for another time.
Yes.
So this has been um, probably the most substantial relationship I've had in regards to um, the next step in the evolution of who I am. And I'm so blessed by it. I'm just truly so deeply in love with my partner. And we've been together for 2 years now. So, um, so my suppression default is actually becoming less and less. It's still there. And when it does, the first thing I do is I just don't say anything.
You observe.
I observe. I just be quiet and I observe. Sometimes I go within and I get a little pity party going on. So I put on my party hat and I,
Yeah.
woo, we're pity partying. And then and then I laugh and I'm like, oh my God, I'm pity partying. Look at me. And then I go up to him and I say, hey, I'm having a pity party. You want to join? And he goes, sure, let's, so we have this little laugh over this pity party and then it's over and it just kind of goes. I just allow it and then it goes. And
That's
yeah,
amazing.
so yeah.
Congratulations on manifesting your partner.
Right? Yeah, I know.
Good job manifesting your partner.
Thank you, Charlene. Charlene introduced us.
Was she the matchmaker?
She was.
She does wear that hat often.
She does.
So, okay. So thank you for indulging me with that question because I knew you didn't have to
Yeah,
answer that necessarily. But
of
yeah,
course.
that was a question that if you were the old Celestina, you probably had a lot to say about that one.
Yeah.
Another pattern that seemed to have surfaced while I was going through your profile is the fear of, because you have this deep need for clarity.
Yes.
And so when you're not clear on something, you tend to over control. You tend to make sure that things are, clear for you, obviously, to the point of perfectionism.
Yes.
The fear of losing control or the fear of being vulnerable, which can lead to cycles of tension
Yes.
and reinforcing disconnection with a partner, disconnection with your external world. So the question I would have asked the old Celestina is, can you think of times when you felt overwhelmed or frustrated because life did not go as planned? And what do you notice about how you respond in those moments when you try to control things more? Right?
Well, again, there's always a default. I'm still very much like that. I'm not as much as I used to be, I have to say, as much of a perfectionist. um, I um, I do like things like to know how things are going to go or how things need to be or and but I've spent a lot more time laughing at myself than when I see it. I'm like, oh, look at you needing to control outcome again. Woohoo. So then, and sometimes the emotions get a little high, and then I'm like, oh my God, I need to go for a walk. And then I laugh on my walk and I come back and I'm fine again. But it's um it's just a whole other level of evolutionary wisdom and mastering um that compulsive need to have things perfect or have things go my way or need to know how things are going to go. And again, the manifestation of this partner has challenged me in that. If anything, very much challenged me because
Oh,
he's
has
very
challenged
much a
you.
it's a challenge because he's very internal. So and because I love to talk and I love to hear and I need to know how things are going to go, he's very quiet until he knows what he wants.
Mm.
So I've learned to be patient and compassionate and empathetic. Even in this short time we've been together, um, it's been fun, really, knowing myself from that way. So it seems like the older I get, the finer and the finer
Yeah.
the it's all those massive gross things are coming down to the layers are getting thinner and thinner and thinner. So it's
Yeah.
not, yeah, I don't know if you're
Yeah.
understanding what I'm saying,
Yeah.
but
There's a deeper in what Char will call inner standing. There's a
yes,
deeper inner standing. And I from speaking from my own personal experience, there is a lot more compassion for ourselves.
Yeah.
A deeper self-compassion.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So this last pattern, an overarching pattern as well for you, and perhaps it's still ongoing, perhaps you've resolved this. When you are in a space of doubt, you tend to overthink things to the point that you may doubt yourself and you may doubt your instincts. And that's when you reach for others' opinions that tend to bury your own. You might feel like two parts of you are at odds with each other. So the question I would have asked you is, when you face a decision, do you find yourself caught in loops of overthinking or doubting your choices? And does this mental back and forth affect your ability to take action?
No, not anymore. No, I've definitely that default has been reset. I have had that in the past for sure, that I would always seek the opinion of others before I would consult my own opinion or trust myself. And again, that has to do with a very tumultuous childhood. Um, I hang on one sec. Sorry, Richanne. I'm having a Zoom. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Oh, okay. Sorry, I have a tenant downstairs. um, so the so how I learned to cope when I was younger was there was a lot of gaslighting and narcissism in my life when I was younger. So, and that continued into you know, three relationships for sure, where my intuition would speak, and but I was being told that I wasn't right or correct, or I shouldn't think that way or act that way or make that decision. So I um, relied on others to help direct me through life. And, but I don't do that anymore. I have definitely learned to trust my intuition and to not suppress or um, hide or seek out another's opinion under the very clear conviction that every person's perspective is truly the truth
Yes,
from their perspective.
yes,
And
yes.
I also have one. So having one has been a difficult lesson for me to learn, but I've learned it very well. And I'm very happy and grateful with myself for having figured that one out.
I'm happy that you did. I'm happy for you.
Thanks.
Happy. So yeah, you have reached that part of your growth wherein you're now learning to let it go and
Mhm.
just surrendering to the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Happy for you.
Okay.
So now we come to looking at your story as a whole. Your essence, based on the gene keys, based on the human design system, your essence is your deep commitment to truth, fairness, and authenticity, as well as your gift for storytelling and bringing clarity to complex emotions. So now we're going to explore the stories you created around disconnections, past betrayals, abandonment, rejection, while honoring your deep desire for truth. Looking back, can you recall moments when you felt unseen, misunderstood, from someone you trusted, and what meaning did you give to those experiences? How have they shaped the way you navigated your relationships in terms of trust and boundaries?
Well, go back to my last answer. Yeah. I mean, I think
The
there was
old
a
story,
lot,
right? That's
there
the
was
old.
a lot of manipulation and um,
Gaslighting, you mentioned.
disrespect, gaslighting that I accepted as necessary to accept. And for fear of rocking the boat or creating, I didn't like conflict at all. So I would do anything in my power to avoid conflict.
Okay.
And whether that was lying, avoiding, being secretive, um, anything except authenticity. Because I felt I needed to protect myself.
Protection. Yeah.
So I did all of these things to protect self.
You needed to feel safe.
Yes.
You
So,
needed to feel that you were in control.
yes. So those were all ways that I learned to do that. So yes, there's been lots of instances in my younger life, especially where I felt the need to do all of that. Yeah.
And when you consider this story that you have been telling yourself that you needed to do all of those in order to protect yourself,
Mm-hmm.
is that story, or are there parts of that story that still ring true for you, that you still need, that still serve you? Or are there parts of that story, or does that story feel outdated now?
It feels outdated now. I feel very confident in those stories that I told myself were just that. They were stories and none of it was true.
Okay. Now I'm going to push your gift of storytelling and your gift of making meaning out of events, out of situations. And my question is, if every challenge you've faced, especially in relationships, was actually a doorway to deeper wisdom, how might you begin to retell your story in a way that reveals your strength and resilience?
Could you repeat the question?
If every challenge you've faced was a doorway to deeper wisdom, how might you begin to retell your story in a way that reveals your strength and resilience?
Um, First of all, see it for that. See it for the opportunities um, that presented, because the awareness that the opportunities arose for deeper or deeper introspection and deeper understanding of the evolution of even the human spirit um, didn't come to me really until I was in my 30s. So a lot um, of the techniques that I had learned for coping mechanisms were quite firmly in place until my mid 30s. So, and because I started to challenge those beliefs within myself, is when I attracted a partner that really helped me through blatant, in your face conflict continuously to understand that that's exactly what was happening. So, a large part of my um, awareness started to shift in that relationship and to see all of those doors were doors to opportunity to um, see bits and pieces of myself that weren't working or that weren't true.
So you just highlighted one of the gifts that your story has given you, which is a deeper awareness of yourself. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
You just mined a gem from your story. Can you share any other gems that come to mind right now that came about from having that, from weaving that old narrative? What were the gems that came to you, insights about yourself that you realized?
What were the gems that I realized about myself?
Your strengths, your gifts.
I think the greatest gems that I am picking out of this about the gifts that I have is, and a lot of this comes through beautiful souls like some of my friends, and Charlene included in them. And most, actually is a large part of it, because truly, when someone sees you and really sees you and has the strength to say, I see you, it's so humbling. And it's a sense of awareness that comes from so deep within that when you're given the opportunity to see yourself as they see you, is just, that's like a crown of gems to me. It's not, and to understand that there's so many people out there that have so much difficulty seeing the beauty of who they are, and that included like all my exes or ex-friends, or it didn't matter who. My awareness became so great with that it allowed me to have so much compassion for myself as well, and to forgive myself for all the self-limiting doubts and beliefs that I had, with myself and for others. So those are the biggest gems I think that I've learned, and I'm so freaking grateful for all of it. It's just, I can't even tell you how much.
I feel your love for your friends. I feel it from where I am. I feel what you're saying. You feel how deeply it impacted you. That to know that you are seen and loved and known by them, and despite the shadows, they love you still.
Mhm.
And I thank you for sharing that. Um, I'm trying to find the word. I'm trying to find the word of what I'm feeling right now. Awe is one. I'm in awe of you sharing. Thank you for sharing that part. Because I'm hearing from you, you've learned forgiveness. You've learned how to be more compassionate to yourself, humility, as others are reflecting your light through them, through their lives.
Yes,
Everybody else is just a mirror to us, reflecting our light back.
that was so amazing.
And to be witness, to be aware that that is happening, that they are reflecting our light, and being aware that they are. It's it's such a profound experience.
No, it's
There
just
at
like,
that moment.
it's so hard to even put into words. It's like,
Right?
unless you feel it, you
Yes.
know, I have some friends where they're like, well, how come you just can love everybody? It's just, well, my question is, well, how can you not?
Yeah.
Just,
So to
or
reach
how,
that,
why do you, how come you love me? I'm this or I'm that. I'm like, okay, I love you because you're this and that, and because you're also not that.
yes, I love you because of it, and despite of it, I
Yeah,
love you anyway, because you are me and I am you. We are one.
yeah.
So yeah, that was profound. That was deep. Now, aside from what you've already mined, I would like to offer three more gems to you based on your profiles, if you don't know them yet. one of your biggest gifts is you turn disorder into possibility. You have this way of walking into chaos and thinking possibilities. Potential is what you see. You don't see chaos, you see potential.
Please.
That,
Always have.
yes. So you can turn an emotional mess into, instead of seeing a problem, you're seeing solutions, you're seeing potentials.
Yes.
The second thing is you move through life with realness and depth. And that I immediately sensed from you when we first connected through the phone. You're very authentic, you're very real. And that's why I'm drawn to you. That's your superpower. Your authenticity is your superpower. And you can feel when something is real. When someone is off, you can immediately sense it. So when you stand in your truth, you give others permission to do the same. And I thank you for that.
Yes.
And the last big gem, there you have many gems, of course, but these are the big ones. The way, because I was reading your profile, the way your mind works, it's incredible. You ask questions that change everything. You're not afraid, like this one, you're not afraid to dive deep into a big question. You're not afraid to face it. And you ask the questions of yourself and of others that shift everything.
Yes.
You're not satisfied with shallow answers. You want to know what is it that's really going on.
Okay.
And you want to make sense. You make sense of things in a way that others cannot do. So that's who you are. You take what life gives you, you turn it into something extraordinary. You're not just a thinker, you're not a feeler, you're a creator of meaning. And I hope you know that about yourself, because the world is so much better because of it.
It became very clear to me when I did a few sacred ceremonies with Charlene and others. It became very clear to me that part of myself that I hadn't really seen before. I was aware of the organization and the chaos into order, and I was aware of like these gifts that I have, but it became very clear to me that last bit. It's like, and I had to really learn to speak up. And because quite often, I mean, close friends would say something, you know, so much, say something. and I would just be like, oh, well, you know, I mean, because I had been so used to being shut down, my default was don't say anything.
Yeah.
But as friends were seeing me, then I was able to be more and more and more authentic and not over talk or over share or anything. But it seemed always that whenever I would say something, it seemed to be appropriate and meaningful at the time. And sometimes a little bit oblivious to me, but it would just kind of come from somewhere that was deep inside that I was just like, oh, I don't know why I said that. Sorry. You know, kind of.
I'm just glad you came to this world, because it's
Ditto.
a little bit brighter. That's all I can say. Thank you for incarnating. The world is a bit brighter because of you. So now we're coming towards the end of the layers. And this is where, again, I'm going to milk your storytelling capabilities. So imagine you're the author of your own book. And instead of writing about the pain as the end of your story, you could describe how it helped you discover your strength. So if your life were a story, how would you describe now this current chapter in a way that highlights your resilience?
Wow. Okay. That highlights my resilience. Well, this chapter would definitely be a multi-dimensional depiction of all the nuances of what makes up a person and its incarnation, its individuated self.
That just gave me goosebumps. Wow. Okay.
So, and knowing that we are multidimensional and to have the capability to actually not only see yourself from all angles, like a glued together piece of glass that's been broken in the shape of a ball, say a disco ball, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And each of those little bits of glass would represent and project who we are in all directions at the same time. So, having in this stage of my life, having had the opportunity to see many windows of each of those pieces into myself, who I am, and how I've been projecting onto the world, it makes me excited to know what else is in there and how I can help others see their own reflection. Yeah.
Oh, what a beautiful statement. I have nothing else to add to that. I'm going to offer you 5 affirmations.
Mhm.
And as you are listening to them, try to discern which truth would help you feel most supported right now. So the first one is, I don't have to push. I can trust the flow. The second is, my presence is my power. The third, every piece of my story belongs.
Mhm.
The fourth one is, I am safe to be fully seen and deeply known. And the fifth, I create beauty, meaning, and magic effortlessly.
All true.
If you were to choose one powerful one that represents your truth right now, which one stands out? And if you want, I can do a rundown.
Yeah. Do not have to push.
I don't have to push. I can trust the flow.
My
My
presence is
presence is my power.
every piece of my story.
I am safe to be fully seen and deeply known. I create beauty, meaning, and magic effortlessly.
Well, I know which ones I have to work on. Um, I think the fourth one is my strongest point, I think.
I am safe to be fully seen and deeply known.
No, the last one.
I create beauty, meaning, and magic effortlessly.
Yeah.
And you said, I know which ones I have to work on. Which one would that be?
I think the first one would be I do not have to push.
And trust the flow. Okay. I will
Trust.
stick with that. I will choose that for you right now because we're going to do the last exercise, which is an embodiment exercise.
Okay.
To embody that affirmation that you don't have to push and that you can trust the flow. So this is a personalized exercise based on, again, your gene keys and your HDS. This is the last layer. And we're just going to integrate everything that we've spoken about today. And hopefully it will be a felt sense to your body. So I'm going to invite you to be relaxed as you are, as relaxed as you can be with your feet on the ground. It's going to be a short visualization. So let your hands rest on your lap. And whenever you're ready, close your eyes and just take deep breaths once more. Just feel the air expanding your chest and just exhale slowly. As you repeat in your mind, I don't have to push. I can trust the flow. Now imagine a younger version of yourself, your inner child, sitting across from you. Picture her expression. What's her posture like? Picture her energy. And as you repeat your affirmation, I don't have to push. I can trust the flow. Notice how your inner child responds. Does her face light up? Does she relax? Does she feel more playful? You can say to her, you are safe, and you are loved, and you are free to explore. Life will rise to meet you if you allow it. Invite her now to take your hand and feel the warmth of your support. Now imagine your inner superhero standing beside you. She's strong, she's confident, she's ready to take on any challenge. See her wearing a cape, a shield, or any symbol of power. Notice how she embodies certainty and courage. Repeat your affirmation now in your mind. I don't have to push. Say it to her. You don't have to push. But say it to her in a commanding tone, in a victorious tone. You don't have to push. You can trust the flow. The answers, the clarity, it's all finding its way to you. Your only job is to stay open, stay present, and receive. Feel her energy merging with yours, empowering you to act with confidence and strength. Now picture your future self sitting across from you 5 to 10 years from now, radiating love, joy, and fulfillment. Notice her environment, the people around her, and sense the peace she carries. Repeat your affirmation, imagining her smiling at you, telling you, Celestina, you don't have to push. You can trust the flow. This is who you are becoming. Trust the process. Feel a golden thread of connection linking you, your inner child, your superhero, your future self into one harmonious whole. They're all coming together. They're merging within your heart. Feel their love, their strength, and their wisdom harmonizing. Place one hand over your heart now, and the other on your solar plexus. Take 3 deep breaths in and out. 2 more. In and out. Last one. And silently repeat your affirmation. I don't have to push. I trust the flow. And visualize a golden light expanding from your heart, radiating peace, vitality through your entire body. Let this light ground you in your truth. Take one more deep breath. Carry this sense of connection. And whenever you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes. Welcome back.
Beautiful.
How was that for you?
Good. I loved it. Thank you.
You're welcome. What did you feel when you were going through, you're talking to your inner child, your super, your future self? Did they feel real to you?
It did, actually. Saw them very clearly. And
Uh-huh. So we are at the end of our deep dive.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. That was a very powerful one. And I'm wondering, do you have any questions for me? Or do you have any last special messages?
Don't have any
Right,
questions.
hey, listen.
I'm super grateful. Thank you so much for welcoming me into your cocoon.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah. And offering all of this amazing wisdom that you've retained and attained and retained, and the deep dives that you're going into yourself for helping people to pay a little more attention to themselves, a lot more attention.
I do have a question for you. And it's not related anymore to the story, but it's more, what's your feedback so far now that we have gone through, I don't know, 1.5 hours. What's your, so I want to know now from the participants' point of view, what do you think about it? Is it too hard? Is it too hard? Is it too hard of an inner work? What do you sense? What do you feel?
Well, um, for me personally, I think it was exactly what I needed to to help me to focus um, on the questions and the feelings that I have. You know what? As we're speaking, my inside of me is tingling, like where the mass is.
Is that a good sign?
Yeah, yeah, it is. um,
Mhm.
just thought I'd let you know physically that's what I'm feeling. So the for me it's very good because I mean you're so amazingly intuitive yourself, and the questions that you presented were ones that may I would not have necessarily asked myself. Um, I know a lot of the questions may have been a challenge, maybe to someone who doesn't um, do any self work. I don't know if you've had that experience yet with anybody. So it would be a challenge, and yeah. Um, but I also believe that whoever is sitting in front of you is supposed to sit in front of you at that moment.
True. I believe in that too.
Yes. So otherwise it wouldn't be there. It's not yet, just them making a decision and you making a decision. It's like, something's pulling this together, and it needs to happen. And I'm grateful for, you know, um, trusting the flow.
I'm gonna continue playing with you here for a bit, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, totally.
I have to go.
No, I'm okay for now.
Um, with the state that you're in terms of soul evolution, because you are quite advanced. Again, I'm comparing it to individuals who I see on a regular basis as patients, right?
Mhm.
Um, were there were there newer insights for you, or were these questions, they were already in your awareness and that you were just going through the motions basically, just because of the state of consciousness that you're in?
Yeah, I think like what happens with everybody, there's um how do I put this? So when it's kind of like, when you go into a big room and you walk in and there's no lights on. So it's black. And then somebody had you a flashlight, says turn it on. So wherever you're looking, you see the light shining on it. And so now you have this awareness that the room isn't empty, that
Right.
there's things in there. And everything that you look at is maybe a piece of your past, or a piece in a situation, or an event, or an opportunity, or an object, or a person. And so the beauty of this talk allows you to um this expression of diving deep into why you may have manifested this in the first place, is brought to your awareness that, first of all, it's your own responsibility that it's there. And the line of questioning that you present is so gentle and loving that, without saying, well, you created this,
Thank you.
you say, well, you created this. So, um, and so you present it beautifully by not laying blame or pointing fingers, but you ask the questions in such a way that somebody thinks like, oh, well, maybe because I was like this, or I had this belief system, then maybe this has something that, has manifested in this way. So for me, it was, most of it was reminders of old thought patterns, old habits that were surfacing, or are surfacing, or have been triggered, or and to be mindful. For me, it's reminding me to be mindful of falling into old patterns. And um, this symptom that I'm having, um, that it's okay to have the symptom as well, is what I'm feeling. And that the symptom will disappear when the whatever created it has dissolved. Whatever belief system has dissolved, the symptom will also dissolve.
Thank you for confirming, because one of my overarching goals when I was creating this framework is to make the unconscious conscious.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept thinking, how do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if they're not aware that they are the creator of their reality. How do you even bring it to their awareness?
Yes.
And that's why I came up with, okay, we'll have to do it layer by layer, peeling it off gently like a scab, peeling it off gently.
But nobody wants to be told that something is their fault, whether it's for yourself or for someone else.
Right, yes.
And it's not like a blame or there's fault. It's just the natural progression of who we are as this amazing human being, and all the things that we can create. Like, I created all of that, all of it.
That's how
Oh
good
dear, oh no. And then there's like, oh shit, what have I done?
it's
Like,
not like I said, not everybody will be in the same state of consciousness like you are.
mm-hmm.
And some will, and I have interviewed some who are still wanting to hold on to their pain because it's still serving them a purpose.
Yes,
So again, no judgment on that. But that's why I was doing it in so many layers. Like there are 8 layers of this. I can't just rip the bandage.
of course not. Yeah.
I've learned, I've learned that concept the hard way throughout the years. Now, are there parts of this story, of this recording, that you would rather not share in public?
No.
Oh, okay. You're
No.
okay sharing the entire story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I will. I will. I will. Um, any other last words before we conclude?
um I really hope that one day we get to meet in person.
We will. Oh, we will. We will in one of those meditations.
Yes.
Or to be with you on your next meditation.
Yeah.
Because one of the gifts that I had been given or made to see in the meditation space is my gift of deep diving, an actual deep dive with a participant. You know how Shar is the overseer of the space? She makes sure the container is safe. She makes sure that it's intact and
Yeah.
that the integrity is there. So she's the overseer. I see myself more as your cheerleader, because you are the gladiator in your own arena, right? So I'm gonna be the one beside you, cheering you on, like physically going deep with you in the psyche as you are doing your meditation.
Right.
I will
That's beautiful.
try to make it a point that I'm there for your next meditation.
Yeah, I haven't done many lately. I've just done one lately, and it was by choice. I just took a couple of year hiatus on it,
Mhm.
and while I was exploring my new relationship. So yeah, it'll work itself out when it
So
needs to.
thank you so much for coming into my life. Thank you so much for blessing me with your presence.
Thank you.
You
The
and
honor is mine. Thank you so much, Roshian.
thank you,
You have
Celestina.
a wonderful day, evening.
I will share with you the link for this one if you wanted to view it again.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a
Have
good
a wonderful evening.
day too.
Okay,
Bye bye.
love you too. Take care. Bye.